Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of Deckin Around Kickstarter Edition. Today we're going to be taking a look at the great, good, and not so good on Kickstarter this week.
They need help. They need help.
Def
Not so good. They need
That's a
help.
nice way to say it for sure. But before we jump into it, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel.
And ring the bell if you care to.
And let's take a quick word from our sponsor here.
Join us as we celebrate the marvelous and fascinating things that surround us, all in the palm of your hands. You will be mesmerized. Follow us on Instagram at MarvelousDecks and at MarvelousDecks.com.
And let's not forget, live now on Kickstarter, the Warrior Women Volume 2. Continuation of the highly anticipated Warrior Women saga brings new women to the front, honoring some of the most strong, brave warrior women throughout history. Make sure to click the link in the description below and go back that deck. Ready to check out what's on the block this week?
I'm totally ready, man. There wasn't that many, which is always a blessing.
Yeah.
You know, especially gearing up for some other decks, throughout the month. So it saves a little money in my pocket.
Absolutely, man. I'm actually surprised. I felt like March is always a heavy hitter month, and we only have 6 new decks this week. So,
yeah,
let's check out what we got. First up, this week's great deck is the Heritage Series by Jocu Playing Cards. Dude, I gotta say, I always enjoy what Jocu comes out with. I think they do a great job. Their previous deck, the Onda, and their most recent release, the Green Man Winter, two of my favorite decks that I've seen in a really long time. I really dig the idea behind this campaign. I like the fact that it's playing cards about playing cards. Like it's a little bit meta, but it's also really just, like it says, it's the Heritage Edition. It's bringing the heritage of playing cards to the forefront and really highlighting it. Obviously, based on the backers and the goal there, they've done a great job. 4 decks at 14,000, depending on how you're going about it, is not an unreasonable goal. Ultimately,
yeah, that's cheap.
Yeah, no, I think it's actually a relatively low goal, but all things considered, if you're printing 4 decks and you're going through Cardamundi, you can always do something like a split run, which helps you bring the cost point down. So I think that's why most people would see this and say, hey, there's 4 decks, how are they doing that for $14,000? It's likely because they're doing that split print run there. Take a look, man. Good. Right out the gate, printed by Cardamundi, fulfillment by Jocu and Brothership in the US. Great to see that.
They are having US shipping.
Yeah, great to see that right there, man. Really nice. Got some good pictures there. Love that little hidden bicycle chip there. Gets into the details of the deck right out the gate. And then starts talking about the story here, man. The Heritage series. You know, talking about the history of playing cards, what each of those really means. And I think the fact that each suit has its own dedicated deck is really interesting.
Yeah, it's cool play on the story.
Yeah, no, without a doubt. That's some.
They definitely, load up their campaigns with a lot of information, which is always a bonus.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I like the little trailer here bringing in their tuck printer, which I think has a lot of value to it. They're really showing how much of a local effort there is within this. They're trying to find people who are regionally local to them to print, regionally local for them to do the tuck boxes. They're fulfilling themselves. They really try and make this a very artistic endeavor, which I think is awesome.
Yeah, that wooden collector's box is beautiful.
Yeah, it does look really good, I have to say. Yeah. And of course you have Anthony here talking about the box. That's just so beautiful, man. They did a great job with that.
Yeah, a nice green lining on the inside is really nice.
Yeah, no, without a doubt. How to pledge and add-ons, utilizing the new add-on stuff from Kickstarter, which I think is great. They still list out the add-ons, which I think is important. Again, with any sort of sales material, you want to reiterate what you're actually selling. You don't want people to go into their pledge screen seeing the add-ons for the first time, because then you're less likely to get them to buy. If they go into that screen knowing what's available, there's a very good chance that they're going to already have it in mind and be like, all right, not only do I want this pledged here, but I want the extra Heritage Series Prestige deck or the 2020 Copper Half Brick. All of these things help build that sticking capability for your campaign when someone does decide to back it. So I think that's a great job there. I like the fact that they talk about, again, keeping it local with their production. Cardamundi, Sherrio, and Newton. Apologies that I probably butchered that name. And then getting into the stretch goals here. And look at this, man. They're crushing stretch goals. And I like the fact that the stretch goals also touch on the integrity of the box. Hidden hinges upgrade for the collector's lid. Super cool. Trying to make the box something that can also continue to be upgraded. Awesome. What are we looking at price point wise here? 16.23 shipped for a single deck.
Yeah, that's a little on the high side in the States. I know, obviously normally if, that was being shipped out solely by, Jocu, that would be a little more understandable, but there is, fulfillment being done by, brothers in the US. So it is a little on the high side, but
yeah, I think we've seen more along the lines of like a $6 price point recently for shipping in the US. Obviously with COVID and all of the increases in shipping across the world, higher price points for shipping are becoming a little bit more normal now. Whether we'll see those return to lower levels at any point in time, probably not. But I think for the most part, maybe, yeah, like 21 would have been, I think, the price point in my mind for this. But other than that, this truly is a exceptionally put together campaign. Obviously, Jocu has a lot of experience with it. This is not their first campaign. This is, in fact, their 6th campaign and 6th successful campaign at that. So, congratulations to them.
9 days to go.
Yeah, dude, I'm excited for this one. I think anyone who hasn't backed this is a dope-looking deck. So, congratulations to them on that one. You are this week's Deckin Around Great Deck.
Woo!
Let's take a look at this week's good deck. A Cyberpunk playing cards deck, a Fractal Seed.
I don't know how I feel about that name.
It's a very, as I was reading it out loud, it's an interesting, idea, and I think they're trying to leverage, the SEO aspect of Kickstarter there by using Cyberpunk playing cards. I almost would have said, the Fractal Seed, a Cyberpunk deck, or something like that, make it a little more dramatic, but, because it clearly, and that's the thing, I'm not sure what the actual title is. Is the title Cyberpunk playing cards, or Fractal Seed, or a combination of both, because I do see both on the tuck there, so
yeah, I don't know. The word fractals, that Fractal Seed title threw me off a little bit.
So and this is me being nitpicky here. It even has a secret comma that can be unlocked, and Steve will tell you I'm nitpicky about commas. There just shouldn't be a comma there. It adds a weird pause.
Yeah.
So other than that though, goal looks reasonable for a single deck based on what we know so far. Subtitle and main title look good. First time creator, so it's good to see them coming to a goal that, again, depending on what they're looking to print, may not be too bad, depending on who they're going for. Might actually be worthwhile to go a little higher just based on shipping, because it's a very good chance that shipping will put them over that initial 4,800 there. Let's see what we got here. Jumps into the story, has a good little header image there. These are some very big court card images. And they're a little early in the game, too, is one thing I will say. You haven't necessarily set the stage yet for the story itself, and I'm already seeing, very overwhelmingly large court cards. Let's see, important note. For all intents and purposes, I plan to produce the cards regardless of the outcome of this Kickstarter. Take that. It's on my website. All right. Interesting. So it takes a little bit of the risk out of this. If it doesn't succeed on Kickstarter, it's going to get printed either way, so you could always buy it after the fact on his site. Again,
which might have, might hold people back from actually pledging for the campaign.
Yeah, and I think the interesting thing about it though too is for me, I haven't really been given much backstory on this, and you're already telling me, hey, just in case this doesn't fund, it kind of sets a bit of a defeatist attitude. I think that would be a great note to put at the bottom of the campaign. Risks and challenges section, perfect for that. While there are risks and challenges in this, the deck is going to get created either way. So even if it doesn't fund, that's a great way to tie in there. Yeah, it makes a lot more sense in that capacity.
And it also makes you stop there too.
Yeah.
It's important note. I'm looking for something that's a little more important than that. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Well, and at this point, I feel like I don't know much about the deck. I genuinely think these court cards are way too big, but also need to be farther down. We're getting into the tuck box here. Story, I recently wanted to get a custom Cyberpunk themed deck cards, and when I couldn't find anything like that, I decided to create one of my own. Easier said than done. Took me only half a year. And it's interesting because I feel like Cyberpunk has actually been a pretty popular theme recently, and I can think of 3 or 4 bicycle Cyberpunk decks. personally not necessarily my style and some of the way that they've done it, and maybe that would be a better way to explain the story is I found some, but they weren't what I was looking for. You know, you obviously someone could just Google Cyberpunk playing cards and things are going to come up, but you want to make that unique experience with this deck, which is an opportunity right there. Puck box is printed on 240 GSM stock with a durable matte finish. All right. I'm always up in the air on whether or not people need the specs on the tuck box. As long as it's not tissue paper, should be good. Good that you're putting the note there that there's going to be changes potentially in the final product. Always important when you're showing renders to let people know these are renders, these are prototypes, things will likely change. You know, we see that very often with these decks.
This should be up at the top, the features section.
Yes, and also I think as much as it's an image, it's not very legible. Yeah. You know, I think maybe the text a little bit larger, printed by Vour Arts. I think that's great. I think this should have definitely been farther up top. Maybe even to break up some of the really big court cards there.
Yeah.
Courts and aces. And again, you're touching on the courts here in a much more impactful way because it's not like just too big.
I mean, they're still too big.
Well, yeah, there's a lot.
It just takes a lot of terrain to go through those. And, you know, you definitely don't need images that big.
Good show of the pips there. Jokers. Got it as jockers. So again, always make sure you proofread this stuff. There are a lot of services out there, even something as simple as Microsoft Word, that will at least highlight simple mistakes like that, like jockers instead of jokers. Usually
as a stretch goal, I will draw a second completely custom joker.
Cool. So for now, I guess it's a 55 card deck with the potential for a 56. At a game, this is where things start to get a bit. Special card among the 56 that will be unlocking a particular online game, because what is a Cyberpunk deck without its touch of cyberspace noir? 15,000 stretch goal. Stay tuned for more details. That's interesting, but I think that almost something being fleshed out from the jump there would have been a lot more enticing and probably gotten a lot more momentum for it, because someone who wants that aspect of it, the Cyberpunk aspect, is going to be drawn in by that.
What's wireframe decks? What is that? At 25,000.
Good question.
The wireframe deck. Oh, it's that right there.
Oh, so they're actually going to add a second deck. Interesting.
Yeah. They're not colored.
Yeah, it looks like it's legit like sketch wireframes. Very interesting concept. So yeah, it would be like a black and white version of the ultimate deck. So cool.
Here, this should be at the top. This is part of the story.
Yeah. Childhood inspiration.
Yeah,
I maybe wouldn't have taken the complete thing from Wikipedia. I would have probably chopped it a little bit myself.
Yeah,
but all things considered, yeah, like this is definitely story worthy. As I expect. Aside from that, I'm an experienced graphic designer working public. Short and sweet on the risks and challenges. He touches on the pandemic situation. I think that's reasonable. I usually like to see a little bit more fleshed out risks and challenges, but it does touch on the points it needs, so I think that's fine. I think we're at price point wise for the deck. 17 shipped. Cool. I think that's...
What does that say? Shipping included.
International shipping, yeah. So yeah, I mean, if this is your style deck, 17 shipped for this is a steal. It looks like there's actually still a good amount of early birds left for $14 shipped on this deck.
2 left.
Oh, 2 left.
2?
I read that backwards there. I thought it said 2 back, 98 left. So there we go. Yeah, no, definitely not a bad deal there. Got the half brick early bird as well. So this is definitely a good campaign. Like I said, I think a lot of where this needs just some tweaking is the actual story being more relevant throughout. Some of these images just need to, smaller images, get rid of some of the images, even some of the repetitive ones. This is actually a really neat image showing the queen, jack, and king of 3 different suits, but like make it significantly smaller, maybe make it a little bit differently designed. It's interesting even on a mobile experience, because this would be like very large on mobile. This would be your entire screen on mobile, and that's one of the first things you see. So I think, you know, just the layout and really the and the story are the 2 big things that I think would elevate this from a good deck to a great deck, because I think people love Cyberpunk. It's really in vogue right now, and a little bit higher on the goal, I think, as well, would have probably been worthwhile just because of shipping concerns there. So
yeah, just for
good luck.
Your pocket.
Yeah, good luck. I think there's a lot of potential here, but keep up the good work. And this week's Need Help deck is
Help!
Ghost
Help!
playing cards keep burning with the flames of honor. High quality playing cards adapted to cardistry and magic scenarios. So again, this touches on something that I just think is poor marketing tactic, and I see it here too. In addition to being used in cardistry and magic scenarios, undead cards can be used for collectibles and everyday gameplay. And we offer a collectibles version. Undead paper is much more resistant to wear and tear than other cards. So unless these are plastic, and I don't imagine people doing cardistry with plastic decks, I'm curious now a lot about
magic.
Yeah, like to me, cardistry deck, a good magic deck is built for magic. A good cardistry deck is built for cardistry. A good magic deck is also built for poker and everyday gameplay, aka the rider backs. But that being said, when you try and say, hey, this is a great deck for collectors, cardists, and magicians, all you're doing is providing less focus on your marketing categories than you should be and doing a disservice to all of them. Instead of saying, this is a cardistry deck, let me solely focus on cardists, give them all the attention I can, and it's going to make it that much more impactful.
Or don't even put it in there. Just let the viewer decide for themselves if it fits into their cardistry, if it fits into a magician's world, or if it fits into the collector's.
And I think
you don't even have to put it in
so
there.
when I think
writing that down does not talk me into this being a magician.
So let me give an opposite opinion to that. To some extent,
Go for it.
I think especially with cardistry, there's value owning the fact that you have a cardistry deck of cards, especially when you have decks where it's like, where it's non-standard faces, where there's not court cards and it's a non-playable deck. When you build something that's 100% a cardistry deck, own it. You're marketing towards cardists. You want to use the word cardistry throughout the whole thing because of SEO and searchability and what people actually understand. That being said, very rarely are you finding a magician's deck that's only geared towards magicians, and I agree. Like, you can say this deck may be great for magicians or it includes magic tricks, but that's the marketing speaking for itself. I don't necessarily think there's a deck out there that I've seen that's a great magicians, cardists, collectors, poker deck.
I mean, Orbit. Like, there are decks out there that could be, Fontaine. Like, there are decks that can be used for that, but they're, it's not how they're marketed. They're just
because they market to their intended category, which is cardists.
Well, yeah, but I mean, what it comes down to is it's like a cardist knows what's a cardistry deck, a magician knows what a magician deck is, and a collector knows what a collector's deck is.
That's
Me
fine.
looking at this deck, I do not think cardist when I first look at it.
I think this is collector from out the jump.
100% collector.
Story. Humans can be immortal after all. Perhaps exists another possibility of keeping burning of honor in the form of ghost. I'm not exactly sure what the story is yet, but let's keep going with it. The flesh will eventually turn into skeleton buried underground. However, we must not give up the slightest possibility. Ghost Played card is a set of playing cards that we designed especially for cardistry performers and magicians in 2019. Since the design did not meet the requirements of being launched in the market back then, it has been reserved till today. I'd be curious to know what that means. Also, before we even get too far into it, the goal is extremely low, 2,567. No matter what's being printed here, that's a very low goal unless it's like a 500 print run with like MPC.
Yeah, or print, made to print.
Yeah, so I'd be curious to see what that looks like. That's the first thing that stands out to me, is having a transparent, realistic goal is crucial for these campaigns if you want people to feel confident in your ability to actually fulfill. Dive into it then.
A lot of skulls going on.
A lot of skulls. I know you're gonna strongly dislike that, but like, check it out. Jokers, aces, jokers.
Aces are interesting. I mean, if you like skulls, they're fun.
There's definitely interesting vibes to it. And it's very visual. Deck itself. Playing cards have high so the one thing I will say too, and again, like, obviously being based out of Singapore, I think was the location for this, like, potentially a non-native English speaker. Definitely reach out to someone that you know within the community to just have them kind of proofread these things if you're targeting an English-speaking market. Or possibly as well, having someone professionally translate these things to give context and add things. Because grammatically, this is just actually tough to read. And I think that can detract from a campaign.
It does look like it's plastic, eh?
It does look plastic.
Yeah, which...
Shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean... I'd be curious to see how this plays out, is not only for cardistry and magic scenarios, but also for collection and daily usage. We offer special collectors. The resistance vibration of ghost playing cards is far better than that of others. Side opening box. So the only place I've seen side opening boxes usually is PCC.
Yeah, I mean, anybody can do it, but it's just,
but like,
they're known.
Yeah. But like, so here's the thing we don't see here. Who's printing? Who's fulfilling? Really much of a story beyond these couple lines here. There's nothing about this that, like, unless I absolutely love the artwork, is selling me on this deck.
Yeah. How much does it go for?
Let us see. You're looking at $28 shipped.
Yeah, that's a lot of money.
By about $13.
$18.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say 15 shipped for this as a cardistry deck would be reasonable. Maybe 18 shipped on the high end. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, 18 shipped is fair. $12 retail, $6 shipping.
Yeah.
That's understandable. You know, $28, you're gonna struggle selling that deck.
Yeah.
Maybe the collector's set is $28. How much is that collector's set right there?
Collector's edition is $48.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, this campaign, price point's way too high. The story needs to really be built out. Again, I think one thing to always reiterate with these is the purpose of a Kickstarter campaign is to sell people on backing your idea. To me, this just doesn't have any information that I'd want to know about it or really tying me into it. Can't solely rely on the artwork to sell people. That will sell some people, but more often than not, collectors. If you're really making this a cardistry deck, show it being used for cardistry. More so than just bending the card here and it looks like random close-ups of a pressure fan. Like, there needs to be some visuals to tie this to who you're supposedly marketing to. It's an interesting deck, not up my alley personally, especially at that price point, but
good luck.
Good luck to you. If it doesn't fund, bring it back to the drawing board. Definitely identify whether it's a PVC deck or it's just custom stock. Let us know who's printing, get that price point down, who's fulfilling, and get a reasonable goal on it too. I mean, I think those are some really crucial aspects of this to make it a feasible campaign for you. So, good luck. All right. So, taking a look at the other campaigns this week, we have the Swordswomen playing cards. This is a great campaign in our book. I think the one thing to me that really stands out is the artificially low goal. I don't really buy into campaigns that say they're going to print a deck of cards for $1,000, especially when this is going to be printed by USPCC. This is a recolor for the most part of the original Swordswomen playing cards V1. This is the Crimson.
Yeah, the only difference is the diptych jokers.
Yeah, the jokers did change on this, and the back design on this one is red instead of blue. For anyone who's a fan of this first deck, this looks like another great campaign. It also looks very similar to their first campaign. So, not bad to templatize a successful campaign for a subsequent one. Price point wise on this as well, $16 shipped. Really can't go wrong with it. This was a great campaign for us this week. Next up, we have the Helix playing cards Mandala Edition, which I think was a good campaign this week. The one thing that stands out to me about this campaign is that I'm pretty sure the creator for this has actually tried to create things in the past that haven't funded. And while that's not an issue, it looks like, and we saw this with previous campaigns, they created a new account for this campaign specifically. I think that kind of makes things a little less transparent. In addition to that, I think the story just isn't necessarily there. Everyone who's into playing cards at some point or another has thought of their own deck of cards, and while yes, that may create a little bit of an identity, it's not selling me and backing your dream. It's probably, if anything, reinvigorating my dream. So while, yeah, it makes a quick connection, I don't think that's a great sales point. Other thing to this one, to me, that stands out is the story just doesn't really carry through. There's not a ton of actual text in this campaign. There's a lot of great pictures. They really covered what they needed to there. But the largest section of this entire campaign is the fulfillment and community group and contact us sections. So,
yeah, I think adding a little bit more text in between these images right here, you don't need both aces. They're the same. I mean, jokers are the same joker. I think, breaking up these images and throwing some text in there to talk a little bit more about what we're looking at. The minimalistic design of the tuck, and why did you go that route, or something just a little bit more about, like you said, that selling point of the deck.
Absolutely. I think, telling that story is important. Your story is your sales pitch. And if you don't have a story via text in here, pictures can only go so far. Again, depending on who you're looking at, artwork can sell collectors, but it's not going to sell magicians and cardists. So consider your marketing criteria for who you're really looking to sell this deck to. Good luck. This is a good deck, but it has a few things that could really make it great. Next up, we have the Bicycle Veni Vidi Vici metallic playing cards, which was another...
Say that 3 times fast.
Veni Vidi Vici, Veni Vidi Vici, Veni Vidi Vici. What's up? Took Latin for 4 years, man. I know this stuff.
Nice.
That being
and that's the only thing you remembered.
So, to me, this is another help campaign this week.
Yes. It has no information on it other than...
I mean, listen, it hits the key points here. It's printed by USPCC. It's going to be... I don't know who it's going to be fulfilled by, but I'm assuming it's probably collectibleplayingcards.com. Been in the industry for a long time, but hasn't created for a long time. But to me, this stands out as a deck that really has potential. I think people would like this, but there just isn't enough information there. You're not selling me on the deck. Just a lot of pictures, and then that's it.
Yeah, and if you look up at the top, something that just jumped out to me is there's a section that says, go down, right there. It says, get them now as low as 15 per deck here on Kickstarter with free shipping. And I know it's not lying. It's just misleading to me when I first read it, because it's the only deck that's being sold on here. And the only way you get that price is if you buy a half break.
Yeah. So
it is a little misleading, and that could throw me off a little bit.
Yeah. So definitely needs some help here, needs some more information, and really just needs to be more than just pictures thrown up on a Kickstarter. I think at some point in time that may have flown, but nowadays people want to feel connected with the campaigns, and I think that's just what this lacks this time. So good luck. That's all for decks this week. Let us know in the comments below what you think you'd like to back. But before we check out here, we're going to take a quick word for our sponsor, and then Steve and I are going to tell you what fun things we would back on Kickstarter this week.
Join us as we celebrate the marvelous and fascinating things that surround us, all in the palm of your hands. You will be mesmerized. Follow us on Instagram at Marvelous Decks and at marvelousdecks.com.
And don't forget to click the link down below to check out the Warrior Women Volume 2 playing cards live now on Kickstarter, continuing the epic saga of some of the history's greatest warrior women. All right, Steve, you ready for this, man?
I am. Let's see what you got, man. All right.
So for this week, I picked a watch. So I have to say, I'm a big fan of watches. I don't have a ton.
That looks like a watermelon.
But dude, that's what caught me immediately. I was like, ooh, what's this watermelon colored watch here? I have to say, great marketing tactic, great front image there. This just looks cool. And I think, one of the really cool things about it is throughout the campaign, the vibe from the creator was just fun. It goes through the idea of why he loves watches, why he decided to create his own watch. But the thing that stood out to me...
Bro, Candy and his sneakers on point.
Dude, good-looking watches. And for anyone who's a fan of watches, these just look dope. But the thing that really, sold me on this campaign being awesome was coming down to the, About Us section. And it says, behind the brand, Richard, Rich, and Ricky. And when I first looked at it, I scrolled real fast. I'm like, oh, that's so weird. They have 3 of the same names. And then I look up and I'm like, oh, it's the same guy 3 times. And I'm like, dude, killer sense of humor right there. Enough with a third person. Like many micro brand owners, I'm an individual that lives and breathes watches. I love the fact that he made it fun, and immediately I like this dude's personality. I thought that was great.
The studio name is dope too. Studio Underdog.
I know.
I love it.
It's so sick. And you know what? One of the things that I always say I love about more standardized Kickstarters is the use of timelines. Visualization of timelines is such a great way to build out an understanding in your backers as to when you think things are going to get delivered. We all say it, hey, in the pledge it says estimated delivery September 2021, but why not break it down as best as you can? I'm sure it's a lot easier in watches than it is in playing cards. To some extent, but here's the thing, not all of this is going to be carried out 100%. A timeline is still an estimate, and I think it's great that they utilize them. And so, Yeah, this was my pick for the week. So
Nice.
for anyone who loves watches, let me know in the comments below. Would you back this watermelon colored watch? Steve?
It's so funny that you're gonna see the kind of process of my choices in how I like to live.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny because I don't do watches. I have a phone that tells me the time every time I pick it up. So I don't need any, like, I don't like jewelry. I don't wear any jewelry. You know, I told Leslie I feel bad when we get married because I'm not wearing a wedding ring. You know?
Gotta get it tattooed on your finger, my man. And
like,
for
that's
anyone
probably what
who's
I'll-
down with this, it is $466 shipped for this handmade watch. So not a bad
Nice.
deal. All right, let's check out
Jump on
Steve's choice this week. The Lux Ultimate Desk Lamp for your vision and eye care. So Steve, for those who don't know,
or vision.
for those who don't know, Steve had a birthday recently, so eye care has become very important to him in his older age.
Oh goodness. You know what? It has nothing to do with eye care. It has to do with cool care. And when I look at this, it is super sleek. Most of the desk lamps that you see are those stupid ones that have one section and they do this.
Yeah.
And it's terrible. This super sleek. It can sit over your monitor, not mine because I have a huge monitor that I can't put anything above it. But it's just really sleek, you know, and obviously it has 9 backers, which isn't a lot, but it is a little pricey.
Maybe after this it'll get 10.
Yeah, I know, right? You know, I just really dig its versatile movement that it does have, and it's just sleek. I like white. I like
minimalist.
having my desk have nothing on it and just look really good, you know?
No, I listen, I get it. It's a dope looking lamp. If this is your like style and goes with the motif of your home, this is very cool.
Yeah. Dude, there's your timeline. It even has your timeline.
I'm telling you, most other Kickstarters types use a timeline. I think it's a great thing. Because it's still all a ballpark. You know, no one expects you to adhere to it perfectly. Sometimes you get decks early, sometimes you get other Kickstarters early, sometimes you get a little bit late. Communication is the key there. But I gotta say, man, nice choice for this week, Steve.
Thanks, buddy.
Very nicely
Just
done.
to let you know, I had someone reach out to me and send me a link saying, you're basically like one of my towel buddies. And they sent me a link to another towel.
Oh my god.
Basically, they were also a towel lover. So,
well, if there are any...
I bet you didn't get any messages about your little board game.
I did not. Well, hey, listen, if any... I get a lot of comments in the video, though, about the board game. So, that being said, though, this isn't a competition. For anyone who likes the light or the watch, let us know in the comments down below. Guys, thanks so much, everyone, for checking out this episode of Deckin Around Kickstarter Edition. Make sure to like, share, subscribe. Tune in next week for more Kickstarter recap.
Later.